Hello yet again and welcome back to Compositing with Sam. This is episode 4, and in this episode we are going to jump right into a Google Street View photo. And this is something that we are seeing a lot of Beyond Typicals users do. And you can grab a photo from the field if you're close to the project, or from a drone, or from an aerial. But you can also just grab a Google Street View screenshot as well, and that's what we're going to do here. This is from an image taken in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and you can see here we have a bus stop. We're going to make this a dedicated bus lane. So I'm actually in Photoshop right now, and one thing that Photoshop does is they have generative fill now, which is basically using AI to change things up. And this is kind of like Magic Eraser that sometimes I'll use on my Google Pixel phone, but this is just another way to remove these cars. And so we're going to go down here and we're going to select this area, and then we say generative fill, and you could say what you want it to be, but we're just going to generate it, and it's just going to kind of assume what we want, and then it's going to give us a few options. All right, so that took about a minute, and you can see it completely erased those cars. Gives you a few different alternatives. I think the first one is just fine, and you can see here what we've done. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing over here. And then there's something going on here weird with the shadow, and so we're going to try that. Just go to generative fill. All right, so with just a few generative fills, we've already kind of clean this whole area up. You can see there. And the other side, we're going to just leave the cars. The final deliverable on this one is just going to be a rendered image. That's probably the most common use of a photo composite within Beyond Typicals. And so we can just leave those cars over there. And then we have this text in the road, and we have these other elements, but we're going to kind of just zoom in a little bit in Beyond Typicals, and so those won't be necessary. And this text over the road, that's going to be covered by the 3D geometry as well. So this should work out. All right, so here we are within Beyond Typicals. This is the default project. When you're doing a composite, you probably just want to jump into a blank, and then I always go and shut off the total width as well. And then we're going to go to this red button, render tab, and we have it on rendering by default, but we want to click on photo compositing and import new layer. And now we have this image from this Google Street View, and we're going to start, and we can just leave it in the back. We don't have any foreground elements on this one, but now I'm going to just start building out this project and kind of photo matching at the same time. You can build out the project first, and then once you're done, you can photo match it, or you can kind of do it together, and I'm going to do the latter. All right, so I built out the section and camera matched it. And as a note with these Google Street View, you may want to adjust the field of view out higher than normal. So this one's almost 90, and it's not perfect. If I were doing this for a client like I used to do in my previous life, I would probably do some foreground elements, like some of this medium back here. I'd put it on top just to help blend it a little bit better. We're going to do some stuff with shadows to help that a little bit as well. So now we have our bus lane. I have all the traffic turned off right now. We'll turn it back on, but I want to add some decals. We want to get bus only. So to do that, we go to assets, and you can just search. All right, so we got our bus only. Now I'm going to adjust these labels, and these are the auto labels. So you want to click over here, and then we want to bring them closer. So we're going to bring them closer to us, and then we're going to drop them down. And then once you have that, then you can go ahead and save setting as default and apply to all layers. And that's going to really help speed that up. And then from there, we can also adjust the parameters of the labels. So this one, let's make it red just to kind of match the bus lane. And now I just want to, you can see these shadows spilling over a little bit. I'm going to make some shadows within Beyond Typicals so that it helps match and blend that in. So to do that, you can grab any object. Let's go ahead and grab a bus stop. So we have these bus shelters, so we can grab one. And we don't want to see this in the photo because we already have one, but what we want from it is the shadows. And so we can bring it over here. And then we need to adjust the shadows so that they're heading in the right direction. So you do that, you go to settings and go to environment, time of day, and then sun rotation. And then we also want to make sure that this is out of frame because that's going to obviously complicate things. So let's make it bigger and then just move it up and out of the way. All right, so now we have that bus shelter casting a shadow, and then we have some trees up here. And so I just want to do a little bit of trees again, just to help blend this in a little bit. So let's go to assets, and you could reset this and just go through the categories and go to vegetation, or you could just type in tree. All right, so now let's get our traffic going, and I'm gonna just again, we're going to do just a still image on this, and so we can turn the traffic on. And then once we get the cars we want, I'm just going to pause it. So let's increase the volume of traffic. Definitely don't want any buses in this lane. All right, now for this bus, we're going to use, and this is a feature available in version 3, and so if you have a previous version, and you can always check the version by going to license and right here, help, and then version. You can see here this is 3.0, and so if that's 2.5 or before, you're not going to have this feature. We're going to use the dynamic assets to make a custom bus, because as you can see here, we want to make the bus somewhat match what you would see in Albuquerque, and you can see here it's yellow and white, and so we're going to use a dynamic customizable bus to do just that. So to do that, you want to go to the dynamic tab up here, and then you can see dynamic bus and we do create template, and let's shut off traffic here and make sure our camera is back to be adjusted, and then go back to our assets. And so now we have the dynamic bus, and so we can click this edit button and we can adjust it. And so so when you click this dynamic bus, it's going to, and I'm talking about the text, not the edit button, it's going to let you know which section you want it to be in. So let's do bus lane. Just do both of them just to be sure. And now when we go to bus lane, this should be available in this drop down like you can see here. And so now when we play our traffic, then that bus is going to show up, and then we can just pause it. All right, so now we have our bus paused. You can even see the reflections, which is kind of cool. And then once it's paused, then we can go back to our assets, and we can adjust it to make it with the yellow on the bottom and the white on top. So go back to dynamic bus, edit parameters, and we can go to the color right here. You could also change the text that you see here. It says Beyond Avenue. We could do the text of the road that we're on, but you're not going to see this anyway. But you could just say BLVD, just for example, to show how that works. So if we get our camera back to where it is, you can see here we have the yellow. Let's adjust that yellow just a little bit more. All right, and then one more thing I want to do here as well is put a pedestrian over here waiting for the bus. And it's gonna be a little tricky because the pedestrian's not gonna be on a 3D surface, it's gonna be on the image, and so the shadows are gonna be weird, but I think we can fake it using the shadows that we have here. So let's go to assets, and then we want to do expansion packs. And I'm gonna use MetaHuman, and these are an additional download, and it's quite a big file size, and it's more taxing on your GPU than most. And so you just need to be aware of that. So I push the plus button, now it's showing your dynamic templates, and now we can place it in the model. And you can see here, these assets are much more realistic than the standard people. And so let's place him, and then we can adjust him from there. Let's go back to our camera, and then we want to adjust where this gentleman is standing, and we can actually change which person we want. You can see here from this drop down, we're going to change this from Erno, and then you can just go through and choose which pedestrian you want. All right, so I like the way that is looking. We've got our labels. I'm going to bring the labels down just a little bit. And then just one other thing, and these are very nitpicky, but you can see this light pole, it's casting a shadow as well, and we want to blend that in. So I'm going to go find a light pole, and you can use any of the library assets. All right, so now we're happy with it. Let's make sure we're saving our progress, and let's do a render. Just to note, what I did there is I went to 4K and it changed the scale, so I had to just go double the scale of the image as well. All right, so I messed with the lighting a little bit. For whatever reason, the background image was washed out. And so I also increased the intensity on our environment to match that. And then just did a little post-processing to darken it all up together afterward. And this is how the final render turned out. Let's see our clock here. This is another 30-minute render. Again, you can go from a Google Street View photo to a composite render like this in less than an hour. If you have any issues, you can always reach out to us. Go to beyondcad.com and click on the contact us link and fill out the form, and we would love to do a one-on-one with you to help you get these sorts of results with your own projects. My name is Sam Lytle, and I will talk to you in the next one.